Get ready to explore one of Florida's most vital and vibrant coastal ecosystems. Today we are joining with the Tampa Bay Watch Daily Eco Tours Wild Dolphins Trowel Bird Watch here at Gate 23 here in the heart of beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida. We're going to be checking out dolphins and osprey. We have a pole net coming up that we are going to be checking out all the invertebrates that are living on the bottom of the bay here in Tampa Bay. It's going to be a great time. Thank you guys for joining us. Now, let's go check out the conservation efforts that Tampa Bay Watch is doing right here in the heart of St. Petersburg.
All right, we're going to get you out there with some Florida air conditioning very soon. I'm Captain Mel, by the way, your crew today. We've got Natalie right here. We have Maren behind her, and then we have Sydney right here. So all four of us, if you have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate to ask any one of us. We're here to help you out. Let's get you started with the boat, what the boat has on it for safety features. So your life jackets, they're stowed. Put it over your head. Her strap's going to go behind her back, fastened together, just like your belt. Very good, Natalie. Go ahead and jump in, Natalie. Show them how it works. Oh, no.
Everybody, we are on our way out to the harbor.
I tried.
Leaving the dock now.
You alright, Aaron?
And get started today with our Tampa Bay Watch Wildlife Tour. Now, before I get started, I just want to remind you guys that open area sometimes does blow around when we get really fast, so make sure to hold on to those hats and sunglasses. We won't really be talking during those points. We'll be letting you enjoy the cruise, but just as a heads up. Now, you are out here with Tampa Bay Watch. Does anyone know of us or heard of us before? Maybe volunteered with us even? Anyone?
That was what Pamela Anderson was on? Or?
I'm not too sure. Alright, that's alright. I'm going to tell you all about us and our organization. Our mission is to educate and to restore. Now, you guys are out here joining us for an eco tour. We're kind of doing our education part. We also do a lot of education up at our Discovery Center. We do a lot of restoration as well. Our restoration headquarters are in Pier, and right inside this aquarium, we have an example of what's called an oyster reef ball. So that's just a miniature version of one. All oyster reef balls is just sea-safe cement molded in that mold. We drop it into the water, and it provides that hard substrate where oysters can latch onto. Now, the reason that oysters are so important to our bay is because one adult oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. So they are very important to the health of our. We want to promote them having habitat. So that's one of our main restoration projects that we're working on down at our Tierra Verde headquarters. Now, you guys have joined us out here for a tour today. We're going to be going out to our net pool site. You might have seen the big green net at the front of the boat. We're going to be dropping that into the water, trolling backwards for 3 minutes. We're going to pull up all of the critters that we find in it, put them in that tank. We already got some critters from this morning. And we're going to circle a bird island, show you guys some pretty cool seabirds. We'll be able to tell you all about them. And we will do a show and tell where we'll actually put all of the animals in those buckets for you guys to get a close-up look. We'll bring them to your seat so you guys can get a lot of pictures, get all of those close-up interactions with them. So just in case you don't see at the front of the boat us doing the whole net pool experience, you'll be able to see all of the animals up close as well. We'll wrap it up coming back with a little bit of history of St. Pete. Now, we're getting out here on the Tampa Bay estuary. Now, we're out here on an estuary. Does anyone know what an estuary could be? Or have any ideas? Yeah, so it is where freshwater and saltwater meet and combine. So our estuary is where saltwater from the Gulf to the south. Is anyone a Tampa or St. Pete local that can name you one of the 4 rivers that drains into Tampa Bay? Hillsborough River. So we have the Hillsborough River coming from Tampa to the north. We have the Alafaya River coming kind of from straight in front of the boat. We also have the Manatee and the Little Manatee Rivers coming from the south as well. We also have one more source of fresh water. Does anyone know what it is? Rain. So rain is our 5th source of fresh water. Florida is the 5th most rainiest state in the entire U.S. So we get a lot of rain here in Florida. We're coming out and trawling over a seagrass bed. Seagrass beds are one of the most predominant ecosystems, and they have a lot of juvenile and baby fish. So a lot of fish will come in here to have their young because it is protected. That estuary, we are protected here. We're protected from those big ocean waves. We're very protected here in the bay, so it is a perfect area to come in here and have your young and grow up. Now that seagrass needs sunlight to grow. And the bay being 6 feet deep is a perfect place for that seagrass to grow. So that is why we have so much seagrass here in Tampa Bay. And we have sandbars as well. You guys are going to see when we pull up to our net pool site, we're going to be pulling right off the side of a sandbar. So in that dark seagrass habitat, often called the jungle of the sea, because of how predominant the animals are that we find there. I'm hoping to find some really cool things. Does anyone have any ideas of what we might be able to see out here? Now we can see things like dolphins, manatees, turtles, stingrays. We actually caught a stingray in our net pool a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of opportunities out here, but we want you to keep your eyes out on the water. That's the best way to see something. Some of these happen in like split seconds, like a stingray jumping out of the water or a little manatee nose coming up. So you definitely want to be able to see it. And if you see something, say something. Make sure to tell us what side it's on and kind of wave your hands so we can all see it together as a boat. So make sure to watch out for that dolphin dorsal fin, that little manatee snout, and everything like that. Is that dolphins are the smartest ocean animal. A lot of people think that it is octopus, but octopus are very solitary. Now, dolphins actually have a very complex social structure, just like we humans do. They do something called a fission-fusion society. All that really means is sometimes you'll meet up with like their distant relatives or friends, just like we do.
We are seeing dolphins again off the right side of the boat here, just popping up. Right there. 2 of them, I believe.
Yippee!
So we might have already mentioned, but these are resident inshore bottlenose dolphins. So they are born here, they live their life here, they have their young here, and they never leave Tampa Bay. They have everything that they need right here at their disposal in the bay. So we actually have a database of these resident dolphins, and we ID them by their dorsal fin. So each dorsal fin is unique to every dolphin. They're kind of like our fingerprints. So Marin is bringing around an ID guide sheet of some of the most common dolphins that we see here in the bay.
It was funny because before we started, I asked them what was the likelihood of finding dolphins out here. 1 to 10, they're like 10.5 out of 10. So far, I think we've seen like 5 dolphins out here. All right, y'all, we just made it to the sandbar.
We are approaching our net pool site. Just a couple of rules for us during this process. Marin and Sydney are opening up those 2 front yellow gates there. We just ask that you guys don't cross those gates. Marin and Sydney have their life vests on, so if they fall in the water, it's like not that big of a deal. So we're also going to be filling up this big blue bin at the front with water, and we're going to be putting all the animals that we get in this bin. So we just ask that you guys keep your fingers, elbows, arms, everything out of this blue bin. Some of the animals that we pull up have sharp pincers or spines, so we don't want anybody to get pinched or poked here today. Now you guys are more than welcome to come up to the front of the boat and watch this process with us. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so we are permitted by the FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, to be pulling this net in the water.
I just want to warn you guys, if there's kind of splash zone,
We do pull this net backwards for 3 minutes every time. It's kind of like a big science experiment, so we want all of our parameters just to stay the same and be consistent. So the net that we are using is a non-invasive trawl type, and it's shaped like an ice cream cone, so everything is going to funnel into the cod end or the tied off end of the net, and that's what we'll be putting in the blue bin here to release our animals in there. Now you might be noticing that I'm holding a clipboard, and that's because we do collect some data throughout this process. So at the end of each year, we will be compiling this data and we share it with FWC. It also just helps us keep track of how our seagrasses are changing and how our species are fluctuating throughout the seasons there. Sand, that is going to be our sandbar. What about this darker water that's around the clear? Seagrass? That is correct. So a lot of people see dark water and think deep water, like maybe it's a drop off after the sandbar, but it will be our seagrasses. And these are some of the shallowest areas in the bay, as you already heard about, and the most abundant and important for our juvenile species. All right, so we are pulling that net in now.
There's just a little bit.
Shaking that net back and forth to get rid of any excess seagrass and to funnel all those animals down to the bottom there.
Hot now. We all have to share. Thanks. Well, I don't know. You can ask them what it is. Let's see. It looks like perch. Honestly, it looks like perch. They have perch.
Those are like our seahorses, our snails, some more crabs.
Alright, so we're first going to start out by sorting through that seagrass first. What do you think hides in our seagrass? What kind of animals do we think is in there? You might be wondering what's in my hand. You've never seen this before. And it's measuring how much salt is in the water. So the open ocean will sit around 35, and so here in the bay we're typically around 30. That can fluctuate with the seasons and how much fresh water we're getting. Like after a big storm or a lot of rainfall, it might drop lower than 30. But let's see what it's at right now. So right now I'm seeing we're at about 31, which is pretty typical for here in the bay.
Coming into, I think, Snell Island now. Over here at Soar Acres. Gonna go to a bird island.
Waterway in our Snell Isle up here. So, if you will look on my right at the front of the boat, you'll see a big pink house. That is the original home of Perry Snell. So Perry Snell dredged this area. He built up these isles a while ago, and he basically created a bunch of real estate for these beautiful homes that sit out here. So he had this pink home right here when he had the area built, and it has 4 floors total. So it has a basement, which is really rare in Florida. There's around 10 houses in the whole area that have basements, just because it's really hard to dig through that limestone, and then when you do, it floods. So how he got the basement, no one really knows. But he also has that top 3rd floor up there. So we see that 3rd floor, and he had to fight the Coast Guard to get that house because he was a curator of art. So he collected very lovely and expensive art, and he knew the area would be flooding often. So he built that 3rd floor up there to store and showcase his beautiful art. And then he sold the house to me. So I live there right now, and that's my house. And we are now approaching our bird island. That is going to be this mangrove-covered island in the middle of our bayou here. So in Florida, we get 3 types of mangroves. We get the red, the black, and the white mangroves down here. And what we're seeing on Bird Island is mostly red and black mangroves. So we can tell these differences by the types of leaves, the types of roots they have, and those are what are home to our birds here. So the first bird you're going to be seeing, a lot of them swimming out on the water. You'll see many of them nesting, but those are going to be our brown pelican. So that brown pelican is the representative bird of the city of St. Petersburg. We know them and we love them very much. And you'll see a bunch of them on this island as we get closer. We've got a couple flying in. So out now. So just be on the lookout for that if you want any close-up looks at our beautiful shorebirds here. Now, Florida is very special because we get a lot of really large shorebirds and wading birds. So a lot of places up north do not get birds this big. So it is a treat that we get to come here and see all of these birds. Island over here, you'll see on the top of that
dead mangrove tree a pelican, and it's shaking its beak. And they do that as a heat loss mechanism. So that is called gular breathing, and our birds will shake that gullet in order to lose some heat. So in the same way a dog will pant, our birds will do that gular breathing, shake that pellet, and cool off. So the first bird we can see over here down on those mangrove roots, that's my favorite bird. Those are going to be our double-crested cormorants. They are diving birds. So these cormorants can dive up to 40 feet under the water, and they can swim 25 miles per hour. They're very fast. They're great hunters. On the tops of that tree, you might see some anhingas. Those are going to be snake birds, which are really similar to our cormorants, but they're going to have straight beaks, so they will stab at their prey, whereas our cormorants have hooked beaks, where they will bite at their prey. In some shady parts of the mangrove over here, you'll see some long-necked white birds. Those are going to be small, maybe juvenile great white egrets. So there was a nest there a couple weeks ago, and those babies were really young. But now we can see they've kind of grown up. They're hanging out in the nest waiting for mama to come home. But they have very beautiful long plumage down their necks and backs as they get older. Now on the bottom parts of our trees, you'll see them kind of tucked away. They're going to be more long-necked white birds. Those are going to be our tri-colored herons. So they've got some green, blue, and gray plumage and a white underbelly. Hidden in there, we also have a cattle egret. Those are going to be another long-necked small white birds. We see them hanging out on the backs of cows very frequently. So a lot of our birds are tucked under there. Those are going to be some of our wading birds. So we get lots of cattle egrets, snowy egrets, and great white egrets. You can tell them apart by the colors of their beaks and legs and their sizes often. So our snowy egrets are going to have those black beaks, our cattle egrets and our great white egrets are going to have those yellow and orange beaks. Now our birds love Bird Island for a couple of reasons. So, number one, it's an island. It's going to be isolated. They're not going to have to worry about any predators coming in and getting into their nests. So they're pretty safe out here. It's also isolated in the fact that there's no humans out here on their island. So a couple years back, some developers saw this island and they wanted to build stilt homes on these islands. Now, a couple of groups, conservation groups in the areas, recognized that thousands of birds return here every single year to build their nests. Some of the same species, some of the same individuals. So, a group called Bird Island LLC and a couple other groups bought these stilt home islands and forever named them conservation areas. So they are now privately protected naturalist areas for our birds to come back to every single year for us to get to observe their lovely populations. We can see some more brown pelican nests right out here in the front and center of this mangrove. We've got some older pelicans that you can see from the stark white head and the dark brown neck. And our fledglings, which are our adolescent pelicans, those are going to be a light brown gray coloring. Another reason our birds love Bird Island is that mangroves make great habitat for juvenile fish. So similar to our seagrass beds, lots of baby fish live and hide in the roots of mangroves from bigger fish. However, that gives our birds a great food supply for their nests. We've got some more double-crested cormorants on the tops of our trees over here. We've also got a great white egret. That's going to be that long-necked white bird at the very top center of our island. Now we're reaching the end of nesting season for most of our shorebirds, so a lot of these birds are going to be mostly grown into fledglings or ready to transition into adult bird ecotypes. So you'll see some awkward hunting, flying attempts all around the island, but not too many little babies anymore. Most of them are growing into adulthood. So that is our lovely Bird Island. Now, what we're going to be doing next is preparing everyone for our show and tell. So all the cool animals that we got in the net, we're going to get those in our little fish motels and bring them around to you. The best way for us to do that is if everyone is sitting in a seat.
So that was really cool information about those birds. The sea birds, presented by Sydney, one of the marine biologists here.
They both have blue and yellow coloration on them. Our pinfish, you might have seen him being held up at front. He has those sharp pins on his back, and that's how he gets his name there. But he also has blue and yellow horizontal stripes going down their body. Now our pigfish, PIG, they get that name because they are a part of the grunt family, and so they kind of sound like pigs in the water. Something silly there. And they also still have that blue and yellow coloration, but they're going to have some blue stripes, but also some yellow stripes and dots going down their body as well. There he goes.
Beautiful St. Petersburg Pier.
All right, everyone. As we're coming back into the marina here, I am going to give you a look at that big pink building that you see with a kind of bell tower looking structure. One thing about the Vinoy Hotel is they just celebrated their centennial birthday, so they turned 100. And anything that is 100 years old is most definitely haunted. So if you're interested in things like that, they do give haunting tours. Definitely check them out. Now we'll get another view of it here soon rounding this corner. But if you saw that bell tower shaped structure, that's actually not a bell tower. It was what was their AC system. So the hot air would rise out and the cool air would come in. Thankfully, they are more modernized and do have modern AC now, so it's not so hot in this Florida heat, right? Now back to the hauntings of this hotel. The Tampa Bay Rays actually put their opponents up in this hotel to try to knock their team off their game. The Yankees actually refused to stay there for this very exact reason. They need to be well rested so they can play the best game possible. Now, directing our attention to the pier off the right side of the boat, this is our $1 million pier, finished construction in 2020. On the end of the pier here, we have a 3-story building. The first floor is going to be a gift shop / coffee shop. The middle is going to be a nice restaurant, and the top is going to be a rooftop tiki bar. Now directing your attention to the middle of the pier, this very cool looking building here with the inverted roof. I am biased, but that is going to be the best building on the entire pier. That is the Tampa Bay Watch Discovery Center. It will still be open after you get off the boat today, so if you want, it's a great addition to this tour. You'll find things in there that you didn't see out here, and you saw things out here that you won't find in there. So we have a really cool exhibit, aquarium-style gallery in there. Definitely go check that out after this tour. Off the left side of the boat here is the Albert Whitted Airport. You might have noticed some small planes taking off and coming in there, and that is where they were flying out of. Now, speaking of airports and flights, St. Pete is actually home to the very first commercial air flight, so that's really cool history that we have here. They did not take off at the Albert Whitted Airport because it was before they were built, but it did take off right around this area here. And that flight took off in 1914. It was piloted by a man named Tony Janis, and it was the mayor of St. Petersburg meeting with the mayor of Tampa. So that flight took off here and went all the way to Tampa, just across the bay there. But it was pretty monumental at this time because that flight only took 22 minutes. And the only other way from St. Petersburg to Tampa at that time would have been to go all the way around, which would have been about a 7 to 8 hour journey. So that 22-minute flight was pretty awesome. And it also included stopping in the middle of the bay to put their flight chain back on. Kind of like a bike chain that we have now. Thankfully, airplanes are a little different now. That one was called an airboat, much different than the airboats that we have today. Also, off the left side of the boat, you'll notice a big building with kind of a glass-looking dome in the middle. That is going to be the Salvador Dali Museum. We are home to their second biggest collection in the world. The biggest collection is in his hometown in Spain. It's a great gallery in there if you guys like art. It's a really cool thing. Definitely check that out. They have a variety of different exhibits in there, and they're super awesome. Now, as we're getting a beautiful view of the downtown skyline here, I just like to close out with saying that the Vinoy Hotel used to be the tallest building in downtown St. Petersburg. So we can get a really good view of how much the city has grown. It's pretty awesome to see. So that is it for our eco tour. We want to thank you guys so much for coming out with us today. We really enjoy giving these tours, and we wouldn't be able to do that if you guys didn't come out and support us. Thank you so much. We are going to set out some review cards here, so if you had a good time, my name is Natalie. We have Marin here in the life vest, we have Sydney here in the green, and Captain Mel here at the helm. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you had a great time.